Thursday Night Football was arguably the most tilting game of the year for me, which you know why if you followed yesterday's showdown video. But have no fear, today we're going to dust ourselves off because we have a Week 11 fantasy football gauntlet to hit right now. What I'm going to do today is hand build a lineup. We're going to optimize some lineups using projections from Stochastic. We're then going to run the sims on Stochastic as well to find out who are the best plays on this week's DFS slate. But it doesn't stop there. We're then going to hop over to the world of Underdog, do a Battle Royale draft, and we're also going to build a pick'em slip. Is your fantasy football gauntlet. Let's get into it. And let's start with a little soliloquy from myself. And again, sometimes I like to open with a monologue here. I got to tell you the Mark Andrews thing yesterday, and I'll explain why this is so tilting for me. Number one, I hate putting a guy in a thumbnail, having him suck unless there's some ironic caption about how they're going to suck on the thumbnail as well. Then we're fine. Mark Andrews, though, double tilting because if you watched the game last night, you probably saw that first drive. Mark Andrews looking great on that drive. Mark Andrews moving the ball downfield. Mark Andrews active, getting targeted, seemingly going to be a big part of that game. Would he have been the winning captain? I don't know, but I do know this. I played him in every single line I put in the Millie Maker captain. That was 30 lineups. I think there were 3 I didn't. So that's, if you want to give me hold me to accuracy always on here. I didn't play him in 3 lineups of captain in the Millie Maker, but the rest of them, it was all Mark Andrews captain yesterday. And I couldn't even muster up the Twitter strength to hit my little thumbs and click some buttons and go, I can't believe it, Mark Andrews. I just turned the game off. I just played Overwatch. That was it for me for the day. I followed my NBA lineup still followed the showdown on my app. But I got to tell you guys, that one was a kick in the dick on both obviously the level of yesterday, but also for best ball. This is another guy for me over 15%, I think closer to 18% on DraftKings and Underdog that I'm losing for the year. And I had to ask myself, where did this all go wrong? Anthony Richardson down for the year. Dobbins down for the year. Andrews down for the year. These are all guys that were key parts of my portfolio that I think actually were correct plays with how the season's gone so far, and it's not working out. So the tilt is high for me right now. And then I kind of went through my brain, where did it all go wrong? What's the matter here? Like, what's the issue? Is it process? Is it something here? And it's obviously just bad luck. And I know that too because there's been about 5 slates this year where an injured guy in game has also fucked me over. This season to me, and you might relate to this one at home because I know there's a lot of injuries out there. I didn't even cover Nick Chubb. I didn't cover Aaron Rodgers. We've all been hurt by injuries in some way. But I think that for me, I feel like there is a black cloud hanging over my head of just run bad. And in life, I'm usually very even killed because I've had gambling success since I was in college. And I knew to walk away from gambling at that point when it's all offshore, obviously. But I knew, like, okay, the run good was this good. The run bad's going to be this bad. Take your money out. Use the money you need to use it. Pay for rent, whatever, which is what I needed to do at the time when I hit one big parlay on Bet Online back in the day. I think for me, the main thing that I will say is that it does get better. There is usually a blue sky following the gray clouds. There are ebbs and flows in life. Things run bad, especially in sports betting. Things run bad. Things run hot. Obviously, the goal is always to stay alive. Sometimes you're a pitcher that just doesn't have the juice that day, and you're going to give up some home runs. But ultimately, it's about how you rebound that next game. Do you get back up there? Do you keep doing it? Do you keep doing the right process over and over again? And I think the thing for me that started to go wrong this year more than anything is this motherfucker on the thumbnail. So Christian Watson, a man who has busted harder than anybody this year, a man who you would think based off last year, not the pedigree, obviously didn't go to a big school, but the size, the speed, what he showed last year, guys making a leap year 1, year 2, a young QB growing alongside of him. That's something where you would think that Christian Watson would be a guy who'd be ascendant this year, and he has not been. So how do we get this right? How do we change the juju around besides putting on different money hats? I'll tell you how we change it around. We play Christian Watson one more fucking time, and that's what we're going to do this week. This is the last Christian Watson rodeo. If he doesn't go off here, whatever he does in best ball, I will take as gravy. I'm not playing him in DFS again this year, but I am going to play him this week. Christian Watson, we're buying when there's blood in the streets. Why? Why Christian Watson? It's not just because of the fact that I am obviously tilted to levels that you might not see very often on the stream. Perhaps maybe on a DraftKings best ball draft stream, you see me this tilted. But right now, I will say for Christian Watson, the reason I'm willing to go to him this week is twofold. So number one, had the bad game last week, some bad drops, which has been the case for him in every game. But then media talk going to Jordan Love this week. He's saying that he's going to keep feeding Christian Watson. He trusts the guy. He wants him to get there. Christian Watson's parents posting on social media, burying the team, burying Jordan Love as well. I think this is the week. You know I love it, and it hasn't paid off yet. the one where the rubber meets the road. The guy has to be good this week or he's never going to be good. He is facing a team, the Chargers, that on the year giving up 0.02 EPA per dropback, 0.02 EPA per pass, downfield a 0.57 EPA per deep throw. They're giving up 29.8 intended air yards when they're giving up a pass of 20 plus air yards. This is Christian Watson's spot. I don't know that Christian Watson even has a spot anymore, but this is his spot. So Christian Watson is in the hand-built lineup. You also may notice that I hand-built the lineup in advance. That's because earlier in the week, I was also so tilted about how the season is going that I hand-built a lineup based off of guys that so far have disappointed us. Another guy who I think fits this theme for other people out there, I didn't draft this much Tony Pollard in best ball this year. You probably did. Tony Pollard, the rubber meeting the road for him again this week as well. He's facing a Carolina team that has given up a lot of production in the run game. Only a negative 0.01 EPA per rush, though that is still more positive than not, worse than average for sure. But in the red zone, a 0.24 EPA per rush in the red zone. So this is the best red zone rushing matchup that Tony Pollard or anybody in the league can face. If he can't get in there in this game, he is also donezo. So whether you are a Christian Watson believer, whatever, we're also going to get Tony Pollard in here. He is a guy that we're going to rub some sage in the air and we're going to fucking get this right because this is the goddamn week. I haven't even looked at chat yet. Shouts to the chat. Possible weather concern in Green Bay. I don't have a weather concern. I have enough concerns, Gamblestein. I'm just going to yell at everybody. 7 likes. Hit the like button. Yes, please. His talent isn't questionable. The QB play has been. So that's the thing, too, with Jordan Love. Let's go back to the Christian Watson part of this. We can also, let's pull up Jordan Love. Jordan Love's not going to be my QB this week because we're actually going to play a good QB in CJ Stroud, it looks like, in this particular build. Jordan Love. So QB School, a YouTube channel that I recommend, JT O'Sullivan, former backup QB for the Saints, does a great job basically doing shitloads of QB videos every week about basically every QB you're going to be curious about. Jordan Love, a guy that I mentioned my eye test from against Pittsburgh. I really thought that was the first game that he didn't look jittery in the pocket, looked like he was in rhythm, was kind of getting the ball out with some snap. I thought he looked good. JT O'Sullivan said basically the same thing. Obviously some flaws in his game as well when he does get caught up, when he does this kind of like double fake thing where he's trying to throw the ball. That's when he's out of rhythm. That's not when it's going to work. But he does look like he's improving and making the right moves. And against the Chargers, they are such a soft defense and also a team that they're not going to get by just running the ball. They're not going to get by trying to slog this one out. Their defense isn't good enough to hold off the Chargers. So for Jordan Love, I think he's playable in stacks as well. But I do think that for Jordan Love, like it seems like he's making strides. And there are sharp film watching people that say that he's actually doing the visual things as well, and getting in rhythm, getting the ball out faster. These are the biggest issues for him because he cannot handle pressure. If pressure comes his way, it's over for Jordan Love. But if he can handle things and get it out fast, he'll be in a good situation. So they need to protect him here against the Chargers. Chargers pressure rate on the year. Let me make sure that I'm quoting this accurately. Chargers on the year pressuring only 19% of the time. They do blitz at a 26% rate. So if Jordan Love can find open spots with those quarters of the time that's going to be blitzing, he can actually create production for the team. He can create production for himself. I think Jordan Love stacks are in play as well this week, but I'm really going to Christian Watson's way. And of course, I will be playing some lineups with guys like Jaden Reed, who's frankly been a lot better than Christian Watson this year. Romeo Dobbs, who I still don't think is good, but he is a big-bodied guy who gets red zone and end zone targets. Those are guys you can go to instead. But I think that's... Gamblestein, man, I love you. I really think you need to be less contrarian today. It's not the fucking time, man. Shout out Bullock, member for 3 months. Christian Watson is Spags 13th reason why. Yes, indeed. I agree that is something that I will continue to go back to. Look, there's certain guys we love. Christian Watson is not a guy I've been playing at high volume in DFS. The matchup is too good, though. The media, the squeaky wheel stuff that you want to go to is too good this week, so that is why we're going there. Other guys in my hand-built lineup that I'm going to go to. This one is at least easy that we could talk about. Houston, we are going to talk about CJ Stroud here. So he's going against an Arizona defense that is not good. 0.07 EPA per dropback, 0.09 EPA per pass, 0.53 EPA per QB rush. Not that CJ Stroud's going to all of a sudden become Anthony Richardson, though wouldn't that be great? But he is running 2.4 times per game. He is a heady runner, a Joe Burrow style runner. So I do think for CJ Stroud, it is going to be something that is going to be a nice spot for him to actually get some easy production there as well. But for CJ Stroud, the main thing is the pass game. And also to me, it's the fact that there is going to be competent offensive production going on Arizona's side. So this is not a game where Houston can rest on their laurels and then do these kind of things that they've done in the past, or, or other teams have done in the past against Arizona, rather, not Houston. Houston's been actually pretty aggressive in the most recent weeks. But I do think in this situation, CJ Stroud's going to put up points. I also think Kyler Murray's going to put up points. We talked about in the Spags rankings where Kyler Murray, for a one-game sample size, graded out as a top 3 QB. He's running the ball. He's throwing it deep. CJ Stroud, we know, is passing over expectation the last 2 weeks after they've decided, I guess, they could finally trust him enough to actually be the QB he can be. He's going against an Arizona defense that on the year, not giving up a lot of deep balls, only a 4.3% deep ball rate. When they do give up a deep ball, though, it is a 1.2 EPA they're giving up on those plays. Of course, throws to 20-plus air yards. So this for CJ Stroud is the perfect matchup you'd want to see. The price tag being so high, I don't love that. Nico Collins coming back in, that makes it a little bit tougher. Noah Brown's been banged up this week, so maybe hopefully that can pull away a little bit of target share. But I think for CJ Stroud, it's a nice spot for him. I'm going to tank Dell and also to Dalton Schultz in this lineup. You could certainly make the case to go to Nico Collins coming back in, a little more expensive, so he couldn't fit this lineup. But Nico, obviously a very valid play with his usage in the past. Q-Tack on him will also keep the ownership down. So that's something with Nico where he's completely fine, but I'd prefer Tank Dell in this particular build. Christian Watson, martingale. Yes, indeed. We are martingaling hard. That is the theme of the week here. Who else we need to talk about here? Devon Achane. This is not a martingale. This is a guy who's been good. He's coming back in. Again, $6,600 feels like a little bit of a fishy price, given the fact that he is coming back in off of a knee injury. We don't know what the usage will be. Even when he was in there at a full go before the IR stint, getting only 12 touches in this game, getting only 11 touches in this one. It's not necessarily the best spot for Devon Achane, but he's so explosive, and this is a game against Vegas that, quite frankly, Vegas should not be able to put up a lot of resistance against the run game. I have no issue going to Raheem Mostert as well. For me, though, I am a Devon Achane guy. Vegas on the year, giving up a flat 0 EPA per rush, 0.12 EPA per red zone rush. So once again, the spots that line up the best for Achane are going to be getting those goal line touches, getting those red zone touches. Breaking one inside the 20-yard line is what Achane has been feasting on this year. And Vegas, we know on their side offensively, not the most competent, but they are a team that is going to try their best for sure to keep the Dolphins at bay. They're not going to be able to do it, would be my guess in this one. So you want to play your Tyreeks, you want to play your Waddles, that's all fine. For me, though, if Tyreek goes off, if Waddle goes off, can't afford those guys in this build, but Achane would benefit. If we do see Tyreek and Waddle have big games, or anybody else in that roster get the ball downfield. So I do think Achane's a solid play, but Mostert, you might have a little bit more comfort in going to. And Mostert's price tag, for whatever that's worth, Mostert a little bit more expensive at $6,900. So there we go. Rest of the players we're going to talk about here. Another guy. This is not one of my guys, but another guy that we are going to martingale in here. He will fit the one last rodeo theme that we are going for. Jameson Williams, 28 implied points for Detroit. Another situation where Chicago cannot defend downfield. 0.62 EPA on throws of 20-plus air yards. Jameson Williams also facing a Chicago defense. 0.09 EPA per dropback. 0.1 EPA per pass. In the red zone as well. 0.37 per red zone pass. And the reason I'm going to Jameson Williams as well is snaps were finally up to a reasonable amount. Played over 30 snaps last time out for Detroit. The trade for Donovan Peoples-Jones supposedly was coming for Jameson Williams. Does not seem like it's going to be the case. And I think this could be a spot where at 3,300 he can pay off. Obviously, this is a very unique way to go for this one. In the spot, though, Jameson Williams, not a guy I love, not a guy I trust, but I do think is someone that makes sense in this build for that cheap. And a guy who theoretically could put up 15, 20, and it wouldn't shock you. I think that's where Jameson Williams does actually have a little bit of value. Devontae Adams, another guy here that we can talk about. Again, one last rodeo for Devontae Adams. The target share has been there. Obviously, Aiden O'Connell, not the most accurate. 13 targets last game. Caught 6 of them. That was against the Jets defense that we know does a pretty good job defending out wide. Less so out of the slot, but still very good overall. This week, he's going against a Dolphins team that out wide 0.35 EPA, which is towards the bottom of the league, is what the Dolphins are defending out there. Devontae Adams, 58 targets out wide, 39 out of the slot. We know he's going to have to get fed in this game. You know why? Because the Raiders are not going to be able to stop the Dolphins offense. So in this situation, I think that Adams is a better play than Josh Jacobs. Jacobs has been the guy that Antonio Pierce has certainly sucked off enough in media talking about trying to feed him more than not, because he is a defensive coach, and defensive coaches just love to run the ball. He's not going to be able to get away with that. You cannot have Josh Jacobs getting 3 yards in a cloud of dust against the Dolphins offense that is legitimately going to burn these guys alive. So that is something where I think Davante Adams actually should be in play this week, despite a lofty price tag. Wish you were closer to a flat 7, but Davante Adams is going to the last play that I haven't talked about here. And the Seahawks D, Matthew Stafford coming off an injury. They fit with the price tag. I am not married to the Seahawks D. They do not fit the one last rodeo criteria that we've talked about here. But you could also play, I don't know, who would fit the one last rodeo kind of criteria for a defense? Texans D, maybe if you expect some regression from Kyler Murray. Giants D against Washington. Sam Howell does drop back a lot. Maybe that one's, you know what? They fit the thesis a little bit more. Not that I'm in the bag for the Giants or anything. I do think the Rams have been showing some bad signs since Stafford has been, I think, a little bit figured out, as well as getting banged up as well. Let's put Giants D in for the sake of the theme here. So this will be my final team. CJ Stroud, Devon Achane, Tony Pollard, Tank Dell, Christian Watson, Jameson Williams, Dalton Schultz, Davante Adams, Giants. There we go. That's going to be it. This lineup gives Robert Griffin the turd a boner, and that's all I can ever ask. There we go. We're entering it. All right, now let's look at the projections and we'll see what math tells us and not me ranting harder. And you guys know I love a good rant here on Splash Play. I try my best to make it entertaining here, but this is one where like I legitimately just sat on my couch last night and stewed. And granted, you know, like I'm doing a lot right now. Like probably it's been tough getting it off the ground. Obviously, we'll talk more about probably in a moment. But probably is, you know, we're trying to do what we can to grow an app that's going to be a thing that will hopefully be my job for the next 5 to 10 years of my life. That's what we're trying to do there. So a lot of things coming together here in one spot, being sick for about a month now. So this is where we are. That's where the energy is today. So if you enjoy this energy, guys, please don't be afraid to subscribe down below. Please don't be afraid to hit the like button, leave a comment. I'm going through what you go through here. I'm not going to be one of those guys that comes on to the channel and goes like, yeah, man, great night last night. We really crushed it. Oh, tough situation for you Andrews owners. I'm with you guys. I play the plays I talk about here. If I put a guy in a thumbnail for the most part, I'm going to play him at a large amount of volume. Christian Watson, and we'll see what we actually do when it comes down to it on the weekend. But this is what Splash Play is. This is the most honest fantasy football show I think you'll ever find, and that is always my promise to you here on Splash Play. So please do subscribe down below and hit the join button if you can, because again, Mark Andrews cost me so much money. So please join down below, $4.99 a month, and I'm actually going to start putting the data sheet right after this show, so I always remember to do it on time and also give you guys more time to look at it. So that's coming out for the Splash Play family. If you hit that join button down below, you'll be getting all the data I talk about right after this show, right after it. I swear to God, right after it. All right. Top projected plays for the main slate. Let's look at it right now. Whew. Energy's high today. Angry energy is my strongest energy. Happy energy? I don't have that. Angry energy, I have that in spades. Tyreek Hill, top projected guy on the week. Christian McCaffrey, number 2, going against Tampa Bay. Has been a matchup in the past where McCaffrey has gone against the vintage Tampa Bay run defense in Carolina. People didn't play him once. He ended up going off by having entirely dump off passes in a game. Not necessarily that's going to be the case against as a Niner here, but it is something that's happened in the past against Tampa Bay. So I'm just going to flag it here as a usage case that can happen because Tampa Bay's run defense is still pretty stout, even though they've had a lot of different guys there filling in. Obviously, it's not the Ndamukong Suh days anymore. It's just different guys there doing the same things. Tua Tagovailoa, a very high projection for him at a $7,700 salary. Again, Vegas bad team, very high total as well for Miami, 29.3 implied points. It's one of the highest totals of the year for Miami. They should be able to get what they want against Vegas at home. Should be a nice situation for them, and you could certainly pay for Tua as well. And I'll be doing that in some amount of lineups this weekend. CJ Stroud at number 4, a little bit cheaper. He probably becomes a higher on play as a result, but we'll see the ownership projections in a moment. CeeDee Lamb on the heater of all heaters. As we talked about in the past, Dallas does seem like they passed the litmus test we saw against the Giants last week, where that game was as in control as a game can be, and they still kept slinging it around. So CeeDee Lamb at number 5, very strong play as well. Top values overall on the slate, according to Stochastic. Devin Singletary once again against Arizona. Singletary with a 17.5 projection on him. So that is a pretty juicy one for him. We'll see. Dameon Pierce, I guess, going to be out again. I haven't seen any reports to the contrary in that one. If anybody has anything different, correct me in the chat. Brock Purdy at number 2, Trevor Lawrence, number 3, Geno Smith, number 4, Michael Wilson, number 5. So that are going to be our top value plays on the slate, and some other guys not too far behind. Dalton Schultz, probably a lot of Stroud and Schultz coming up in the optimizer, which we will see in a moment. Why does this line remind me of picking 11, 22, 33, 44, 55 in a Powerball ticket? Anything can win in Powerball, legalize it. Anything can win. But yes, I feel like that's all I can do. Your energy is scaring me today. We love you, bro. Masochist lineup bound to work. Listen, man. Sometimes, again, the rubber meets the road. You got what you're going to do. I'll still build like normal lineups on Sunday. For the hand build this week, for the Battle Royale, we're doing Underdog. We are martingaling, and we are martingaling hard. Ownership projections. Look at them from Stochastic once again. So Tank Dell Chalk really jumps out right away. Nico Collins paying up to be contrarian. Could be a move to go to there. Going to Robert Woods would be another one. Noah Brown. Has he gotten back into practice? Let me just check real fast. Noah Brown. God, just all people looking for SEO juice on Noah Brown. Still sidelined, it looks like, with a knee injury. All right, so Noah Brown not back in yet. So that could be something that certainly matters a lot. I would really watch out for Noah Brown if he doesn't go today. He's almost definitely out. That would mean a boost for Nico Collins, I think, the most. It's also been a boost for Tank Dell. Would also mean a boost for Robert Woods. And I guess a little bit of a boost for John Mechie. Mechie's been getting a target here and there, but he is absolutely was the wrong pick in that Texas wide receiver core. Let's see. Tyreek Hill, number 2 ownership. Trey McBride, number 3 in ownership. Evan Ingram, number 4 at 19%. Ingram, again, not getting a lot of red zone work. He popped into every lineup for me last week. Don't necessarily love Evan Ingram in any situation, but he is there. Number 5, James Conner. This seems like an odd concentration of chalk. For Tyreek, though, if you go to the Miami Dolphins running game, you are getting the most leverage, I suppose, against a highly owned guy who's really good. Like, I love Tyreek, love playing him in every possible situation, but him being this highly owned, that does sort of scream out. Go to Miami run game a little more. Hope Tyreek gets the yardage, but not the touchdowns, and that is certainly going to be a thing that is in play. Ingram equals bad chalk. Yes, I tend to think that as well. Got him a little bit too much in lineups last week, and I think he put up like 4 points. Obviously, that was against a resurgent Niners defense, but Ingram to me is just not that dude. Singletaries and everything. Is it odd to have Dell Chalk alongside that? No, because this is Houston's highest implied total of the year. It's a little bit odd to have Dell that high, given that Nico's coming back. But Dell does seem like he's taking a meaningful enough share away from Nico. On the year, we're seeing 28.4 routes per game for Tank, compared to 27.4 for Nico. Dell's targeted 17% of the time that he's on the field. Nico's targeted 13.4% of the time. So projection-wise, Tank should be the better play at this point, especially relative to salary. So I get why he would be there. And also, you combine the casual part of it, where he did just go off last week in a pretty notable way. So for Tank Dell, I get it. But I think that Nico's pretty good leverage against it, and it's probably more of a tournament play to go to, just given that he's pretty priced up and he hasn't had the upside games most recently. Low owned guys, anything interesting there? Let's look at the QBs really fast, because we did hand build in advance here to save a little bit of time and slash for my tilt. Brock Purdy, highest owned QB. Dak Prescott, number 2. Geno, number 3. Shroud down at 8% surprises me. I think he's a top 2 owned QB would be my guess. Just too much love for Stroud. Obviously, again, I played into the chalk for a single entry, so I don't mind that quite as much. But Stroud coming up. Trevor Lawrence, apparently banged up is what they're blaming in Jacksonville for why Trevor Lawrence hasn't been quite that good this year. But Trevor Lawrence, 7% owned. I doubt he'll be that high even going against Tennessee, just what he did last week against the Niners. But he's a player that you get to. And Tua not that highly owned despite Tyreek chalk. So a tough price tag for Tua. Again, it's 7,700, but certainly go there and try to get different. And then Josh Allen, 8,200. Justin Fields coming back in seemingly against Detroit. Here are your low owned guys you can go to at QB. Jordan Love stacks. You want to go the full martingale. Jordan Love stacks against the Chargers. Teams do press it to the metal a little bit more when they go against offense they know can put up a lot of points. We know the Chargers can put up a lot of points fast. I really do believe there's a spot for Jordan Love where I know I'll have some Jordan Love stacks, and I have him in best ball as well, more than enough that I probably don't need to play him in the weekly format. For Jordan Love, I think he's a very solid play relative to that ownership. Let's see what we get on the optimizer. And of course, when we run the optimizer here, it's not a reflection of exactly what the field's going to play, but it does tell us where the math is going to push people towards, because when you have projections like stochastics, they get used in a lot of the field. And that's something then where you do have a lot of similar plays coming up that just force their way into lineups because of how that goes with the player projection, the value, and all of that, and what that represents. 2 at 5 feels like a smash spot. So does Stafford. Yeah, Stafford, I have some questions about just because of the fact that he's really not been the best player most recently. I think we've seen kind of the bad side. 2 at 5%, though, I would agree is like a very strong play to go to. All right, so we're seeing here with these, just the projections on Fantasy Cruncher, getting Trevor Lawrence 20%, Brock Purdy 24%, Geno 24%. Not a lot of Stroud. So Stroud I thought would come up more, but I guess the high price tag not making up for the fact that he is still a good value at that price tag. Jared Goff coming in a little bit, Sam Howell coming in a little bit. Theoretically a good play against the Giants, as the Giants have to put up some points to see the best of Sam Howell, where he's pressing action and dropping back a lot. Highest owned guys, Tyreek, Schultz, Singletary, Dell popping up in every lineup. So this is something we talk about a lot. And I've mentioned Osmo years ago, the actual man, Alex Baker, when we were doing shows, would always point out, when you see a lot of ownership going to guys, but not the QB, that's usually a mistake by the field. So Tank Dell coming in here, Singletary coming in here, Schultz coming in here. It's a very obvious QB +3 coming up. Obviously, that does mean that'll probably be closer to a chalk QB +3. So I would play again. Mix in a Nico here, either Nico with Tank, a Nico with Schultz. I think that's the move to go to. And Singletary, again, he looked great last week. I don't know that I'm buying that he should be this highly projected and this highly owned. I love Singletary. He's one of my highest exposed players. He is a guy that could salvage, hopefully, this fucking injury-riddled year for me. But Singletary coming up everywhere gives me a little bit of pause just because he's really not that guy. Singletary on the year, negative 0.07 EPA per rush, negative 0.38 EPA per target. Avoiding tackles at a 14% rate. Hasn't avoided a single tackle in the pass game. I don't think Singletary is actually as good as the field's going to treat him as. And I love Singletary because of what he represents. But there's something to be mindful of with what we're seeing here. Chalk defense relative to projections. Commanders D, no surprise there, 3,600. Playing against Tommy DeVito. Steelers D, maybe a little bit less so for me. Dolphins, Bills, nothing too crazy. And this is, wow. So we're only getting, we're getting the same 3 wide receivers everywhere. Okay. So Michael Wilson coming in everywhere as well. So this is, again, the projection. So expect these guys to pop into lineups a lot more than it feels like they should. Tyreek, Tank Dell, Michael Wilson. That's crazy. You usually do not see this many guys coming into all 25 lineups, but 5 guys here are in all 25 lineups with Tyreek, Dalton Schultz, Singletary, Tank, and Michael Wilson. Crazy. See what the Sims are going to do for us here. I'm going to run them right now. And while we do that, guys, please do. Actually, I did the subscribe thing. We could just fucking sit. We could just sit and chill. $4 to $100 cheaper seems like the superior play to me. I mean, you got to remember that DTR is going to be at QB for Cleveland, going against a Pittsburgh team that's not great against the run, but not awful. Negative 0.04 EPA per rush in the red zone, 0.12 EPA per rush. That's a positive for them. Yeah, Ford's okay. It's just like Hunt cuts into that workload too. Not the biggest Ford guy with how Hunt's definitely taking enough of a role every week. Snap-wise last week, where were these guys? Jerome Ford played 50 snaps last week. Kareem Hunt, 28. I don't know. You're giving away about half the snaps. Tough, but yeah, for a tournament play, Ford's fine. Not going to begrudge that. Singletary, though, man, that's a lot of Singletary. I love Singletary. It's a lot of Singletary. If you're not familiar with the stochastic sim process, of course, what they do, they're going to build 10,000 lineups here. Then they're going to sim them against each other 40,000 times. So we'll see what it gives us. The sims are going to identify as the best plays. And of course, the sims don't account for spite. They don't count for personal madness levels at various players who drafted in best ball. So that is something where it'll be a little bit different than the kind of builds I did earlier. Do you play any DTR? 4,500 for QB is so cheap. He really looked bad in that first game. He did not look ready for prime time. Playing against Pittsburgh has been an okay matchup as long as you can handle the blitz. Pittsburgh's blitzing 37% of the time. They're hurrying the QB 8% of the time, though, which is a pretty high amount. Getting pressure 25% of the time. I don't know that's where you want DTR to be. You could play some of them. I wouldn't play them in like primary lineups or ones that you really need to if you're spending high stakes stuff, I would not play DTR. If you're putting them in like a 150 set, like the one in the mini max, sure, mix in a few, or one of the 20 maxes, sure. But I would not go crazy on DTR just because I think he's a talented player. I just don't think he's ready for prime time. And he probably didn't get enough starter snaps over the course of like the entire offseason because they were so busy trying to get to Sean where he needed to go. And now that's over. Boy. DTR, more like DTF. Indeed. How is Dowdle? Dowdle is an okay play if you're going to go away from Tony Pollard. I think that I would rather play the Tony Pollard side of the equation just because of the fact that obviously people don't want to play Tony Pollard anymore. Our friend Pete Overset, of course, had a burial for Tony Pollard this week on his stream. So I think that's where the logic is for most people. If we saw Tony Pollard being owned, like I think you could definitely go a different direction, but Pollard's projected to be under 15% this week. And that's probably, I would say, an aggressively high, I would say, ownership projection. So I would be more inclined to play Pollard. But yeah, if you want to play Dowdle and get ahead of the fact that Pollard maybe just loses the role, you certainly can do that. Snap share wise, Dowdle played 22 snaps last week to Pollard's 54. So a little bit tough. Like button indeed. Yes, please hit that like button. I'm laying it all on the line for you guys, as I always try to do here. But this week in particular, this week in particular, we're getting there. All right, highest ROI lineup: Sam Howell in a QB +2. Howell, Jahmyr Gibbs, Devin Singletary, Tyreek, Terry McLaurin, Calvin Ridley, Dalton Schultz, Logan Thomas, Panthers. Calvin Ridley. Why Calvin Ridley? I guess Calvin Ridley theoretically getting leverage on a highly projected Ingram in this build. Ridley at 5,400. Well, this matchup is not bad going against Tennessee. Like, as we talked about, they are a bad pass defense. Certainly a pass game funnel. 0.04 EPA per dropback, 0.04 EPA per pass, 0.31 EPA out wide, which is where he's getting most of his targets. I guess this could be the spot that Ridley gets right. I just like, with the eye test is not looking great for Ridley. How's the child? Well, the child's doing great. Thank you. He's coming along splendidly, 20 months old now, and he's a very cute boy. So we love him. Brock Purdy here at number 2. So here are some teams. I wouldn't play him straight away, but you can if you want. Obviously, the data moves around over the course of a weekend. I would recommend paying for a Sims package if you can, whether it's stochastics, whether it's Saber Sim, which has a 5-day trial, whether it's the Solver, Roto Grinders is a free one too, I think. But Sims should be an important part of your process, even if you don't play the lineups directly. If we favor the top 150 or highest exposed guys, we're going to be Devin Singletary. Devin Singletary, good chalk according to the Sims. 95% of lineups, Devin Singletary comes up. So maybe one to not get too cute. For NBA in particular, you would play these straight away and not even have a question about it. For NFL, we know how things can go. So if you're not playing Singletary, play the pass game, play the Cardinals D, play something that's a direct leverage against them. But I think for Singletary, that's a lot of ownership coming up sim-wise. So he does seem on his face like a very strong play. Gamblestein here's been using Roto Grinders free one. It's not bad. Yeah, I played with it briefly. You know, like I get the stochastic one through them for free. So I'm going to use the one that I know, but I think they all do a similar job of giving you at least a look at what this is. So just use one in your process, what I would recommend. Stack exposures. Let's look at that. Actually, let's look at leverage first. Highest leverage guys: Singletary, Ingram again, fucking Ingram, Dalton Schultz, Tank Dell, Michael Wilson, Commanders. So they're forcing you to the guys that we saw were very strong projection plays as well. I don't get the Michael Wilson thing. I feel like that's a little bit flimsy, but I guess if we're buying in that Kyler Murray is just going to be the best version of himself, I can see how you get there, but I don't know. I'm not sold on that one. Guys are most under on. Let's see that. No Josh Jacobs at all coming up. The field's projected to be at 17%. So Sims saying stay away from Josh Jacobs. Also saying stay away from Dalton Kincaid against the Jets, which is kind of odd because Kincaid probably has the softest matchup on the field there. But a little bit of squeaky wheel going with Stephon Diggs. We'll see what they do. Stephon Diggs probably has the toughest matchup, but Kincaid obviously knocked the guy who's as important to the future. And I would think that if Joe Brady is a smart offensive coordinator coming in, he's going to know to butter up Stephon Diggs as much as possible when his brother is basically saying that he wants him traded. And Diggs has to reply to that in a press conference in the week. Definitely squeaky wheel stuff going on for Diggs right now. Breece Hall doesn't want us to get him, doesn't want us to get Garrett Wilson. So Jets, Buffalo, definitely not coming up in the Sims at all. Stack exposures, these are our highest exposed stacks. Tua, QB +1 coming up a lot. Probably a lot of Tua and Tyreek would be my guess. QB +2, Brock Purdy, Trevor Lawrence. So we're not getting Tua as a QB +2, which feels like an error given that high total. So I would say that's one thing that jumps out right away would be playing more Tua doubles on DraftKings because the Sims are not going to force people there. And obviously we know at that high total, and I think people are going to be excited to play Achane as well. I would think that Tua doubles are a way to get leverage on that as well. Even though, run game gets leverage on the pass game gets leverage on the run game, whichever one's higher owned, try to play that alternate outcome. And then for my sake, let's look at one here. Let's see what a Green Bay stack looks like this week. Jordan Love QB +3 is the highest ROI one here. Jordan Love, Aaron Jones, Singletary, Tyreek, Cooper Kupp, Christian Watson, Cole Kmet, Luke Musgrave, Dolphins. What about a QB +1 with Watson? Here we go. QB +1 with Watson. Love it. Jordan Love, Jahmyr Gibbs, Devin Singletary, Keenan Allen. I like that. You're getting direct leverage on Tyreek and trying to say that the game environment for Green Bay goes off. I think that makes sense. Tank Dell, Christian Watson, Dalton Schultz, Evan Ingram, boo, and Dolphins. Ingram's going to go off, right? Because I've now booed him too many times. And we've all collectively, I guess, booed him in the chat as well. Fading the Arizona versus Houston game might be the play in tourneys. Seems like Solver and Sims loving that game. Good to know, because I don't check the Solver. But honestly, if you were going to run a really thorough DFS process, you would have like an account for every site, and to see what each site is selling, you are the place to go to. That would be great metagame. That'd be the kind of the equivalent of averaging out projections. So just something to think about if you are a person that's in a rut with your performance. Honestly, a person like me right now, and you just want to turn things around, just getting a read on how everything is approaching overall, I think would be it. Jordan Love. Yeah, here's your Jordan Love teams. Any other stacks that might be interesting to look at? Let's look at Houston real fast. So we are getting a lot of Houston stacks in the top 150, but Stroud, Singletary, Ford. Oh, there we go. Jerome Ford. CeeDee Lamb, Tank Dell, Calvin Ridley, Dalton Schultz, Michael Wilson, Commanders. So it seems like if you're going with a non-Tua QB, they're taking you off Tyreek for the most part and pushing you towards another high dollar guy. So that's kind of interesting to note here. But again, some Stroud teams. And let's look up Miami real fast as well. Then we'll hit Underdog in a moment coming up. Tua McCaffrey. Wow. Tua McCaffrey, Singletary, getting leverage on Tyreek with Waddle. Waddle, of course, not having an explosive game lately, but certainly can have one. Calvin Ridley, Darnell Mooney, Dalton Schultz, Cole Kmet, Packers. Don't know that I want two Bears pass catchers in a non-Fields lineup, but I suppose I don't know. I suppose you could play it. This one with Mooney. Why Mooney? I would not think there's a big Mooney Tua crossover, but apparently the Sims want you to get there. Either way. Wentz stacks. I don't think we'd have Wentz because it is supposed to be Stafford going, but I could look up the Rams. Stafford, Singletary, Chuba, Cooper Kupp, Puka, Garrett Wilson, Schultz, Kmet, Jets. I mean, 209% ROI on this one, so it's not that bad either. But there you go. If you want to play these, go nuts. I am the KY. Feel free to steal away. What's Aaron Jones projecting like for Stochastic? 15.6. So that would put him relative to the RB position, where top 4 RB, not that bad for Aaron Jones. I will go nuts. Like, I apologize. I don't want to limit you from going nuts. Purdy stacks. Sure. Whatever the will of the people is, I bend easily too. Purdy, Singletary, Ford, Cooper Kupp, Brandon Ayuk, Tank Dell, Dalton Schultz, Ingram, Dolphins. That Dalton Schultz, Ingram, Dolphins coming up in a lot of these builds, it looks like. How do they like Fields? We'll look at Fields, and then this will be the last one we pull up, unless you guys have an interesting one to look at. Did I miss Lawrence? No, you didn't. I'll get it for you. Chicago, that'll be our last one. Fields, Gibbs, Singletary, Tyreek, Tank Dell, Mooney, Ingram, Kmet, Commanders. Man, so you're not getting more in anything. If I were playing Fields, I'd play DJ Moore. That's the one thing I really do expect, is that Fields is going to come back in and make a meaningful difference for Moore right away, because he was really, Moore was the apple of his eye, even though Kmet obviously had a lot of good red zone work, a lot of good work overall. But I think Fields with Moore would be the most interesting. So like one like this here, Fields, McCaffrey. Oh, this is actually kind of interesting. Fields, McCaffrey, Pollard, Tank, DJ Moore, Mooney. Get Mooney out of here. I don't want Mooney in these builds. Dalton Schultz, Cole Kmet, Dolphins. All right. And then Jacksonville for our guy Gamblestein here. Is it Gamblestein or Gamblestein? You tell me. Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, Devin Singletary, Cooper Kupp, Hopkins, Ridley, Ingram, Kmet, Steelers. So QB +3 with one bringback. This is something, too, that you could do if you really want to force bringbacks. You can also just filter in here. QB +3, 1. There. So now we have all the bringbacks as well. Again, really useful stuff you can do on the Stochastic Sims tool that I think is good. So here's the best one in the bringback. Here's the second best one in the bringback. Fucking Hopkins, buying all their blood in the streets on Hopkins. Sure, why not? All right, guys. It is underdog. Underdog time. Get this NBA shit out of my face. It's Battle Royale time. Of course, the Battle Royale this week, $20K to first place, $5 entry fee. Battle Royale is a lot of fun. Of course, I only put in one entry a week on here. Fuck off, underdog. Why? You have the location pin is like right here. I can see it on my screen and it's still not letting me enter. I'm in Pennsylvania. Don't let me play pick'ems. Let me do my Battle Royale drafts. All right, Battle Royale. Now we're good. So we'll see what we do here. Obviously, as the badge bros will tell you, our pals over there, scroll the F down is always going to be the move to try to get at least a few players in that are not getting drafted. We'll see if we can do that today. But I'll tell you what, the seed is probably going to look a lot similar to that hand built I put in on DraftKings. But we got one more spot here. So play along with me in Underdog. And here, let's pull up the banner too. And please use the promo code SPLASH and Underdog down below. $100 deposit match for you. And of course, we get an affiliate fee on that one too. So you're supporting the show and building your bankroll in Underdog. You play pick'ems. I know our pal Pete had a really good breakdown on pick'ems on the PO box, which actually I'm going to try to adapt to today. We're basically trying to play game stacks a little bit more, trying to play correlation a little bit more. So you're basically making your lineup more like a DFS lineup than just a straight parlay. That's the kind of thing you do in pick'ems, and you can also do in parlays as well. But play on Underdog, use that promo code SPLASH, $100 deposit match. All right. Just tried to play along. Oh, well. Sorry, bud. Not my fault. Underdog's been really weird. Like, I never had this issue during best ball, and all of a sudden, just having a little bit more issues each time out. Also, this is a fucking T-Box is a guy I know. I see him pop up in my For You feed on Twitter. I know Charlie, line of scrimmage, of course, top BBM finisher, top 3 finisher last year. So we have good guys in this room, which I never want to see. Happy Friday, Spags. Late to the party, but glad to be here. Love you, Dustin. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate all you guys being here. Splash Play. I try to make this the most welcoming community around, but one where I do sometimes berate people, as you see below, but I do it out of love. So please do subscribe down below. Smash the like button. For the love of God, smash the like button. Yeah, way too many badges. I agree. All right, so we got a Monra, we got Cup, we got Diggs, we got Allen. Gonna reach for Achane. Really not any values, though. Everybody's just kind of scooping up guys that are perfectly logical. God, I don't really like this group. I do like a Monra. Yeah, let's go a Monra. Guess we're getting different here. T-Box in a draft there. For what it's worth, and it's something just to be mindful of, again, if you're putting in a few entries, a lot of people now auto-drafting across their portfolios just to make sure to getting a lot of entries in, because the more entries you get in, the better shot you have to win. That's always the case in every DFS format. So, kind of a bummer, I think, but that's, that is what it is. All right. Do we love Achane enough to go with him here? I do. I love Achane. I'm a sucker. It's fine. Achane it is. Badge rooms are nice because we stay out of each other's way. Oh, I didn't know you were TTP. All right, good to know. So Brandon's TTP. Yeah, that's true. Battle Royales, I feel like for the most part, I don't normally feel too sniped by people. But best ball drafts, I prefer drafting with badges for the most part. The downside is that you just don't get the ADP values in badge rooms, which for me, for Battle Royales, like ADP value is one of the ways I try to get unique. So that lever is probably gone now for this one. They're just doing it for the rake back. I mean, they could be doing it for the rake back, but also because, again, if you put in 150 auto draft entries, you have a better shot to win against one person who hand built an entry that even got like the best values and the best construction. So I would say that you're probably a little bit better off trying to max it if you can, or getting 50 entries in. But you just want to have a spread and different looks and things like that. Yeah, it's tough, man, because like it's the same as DraftKings. It's just now you have to do it manually, but now people are not doing manually. So I don't know the ethic. Like, I'm not going to be a judge of anybody here. Whatever's helping you get it in good, I support, but it changes the game for me, and it makes it a little bit less fun for me personally to like want to throw in 5 to 10 entries. All right. I'm a believer in Devontae Adams. We've talked about that. So let's fucking do it. 13 targets last week. Again, they have to get a lot of points on the board here to have any shot to stay competitive against Miami. So I'm willing to go there. Probably not going to play Aiden O'Connell with him, but whatever. I think this is probably a Goff team is my guess. Which means we should maybe get Chicago involved as a bring back. Don't have to, but it might be nice. Or a Goff double, because Goff's not mobile enough to run here. Yeah, you know what? Let's go the Goff double. I played Jameson Williams in my hand build, so we'll go the Goff double here. We got teams so far: Devon Achane, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Devontae Adams, Sam Laporta, and now we're going to wait on Goff, and he'll be our unique lever that we can do. And we'll draft one more guy, whoever that guy may be. I don't know. We'll find out. Look at these other teams as well. We got a McCaffrey, Montgomery team up top. Montgomery, always a good running back play as well. Worth pointing out as well for Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs apparently was allowed to get that touchdown by David Montgomery. Montgomery was supposed to come in on that one play where where Gibbs broke the long run, and then he ended up getting the red zone carry. Apparently that was supposed to be a Montgomery play. So just something to keep in mind there that Gibbs probably doesn't have as much of a red zone role as it seemed like he might have last week. Yeah, fucking Mooney. Of course, Moody's going to go off. Yeah, so I don't know. All right. Well, we said it, guys. No, but do I want Watson more? No, Pollard's a better play. We'll go Pollard here. John Warner somewhere, another one of the Badge Bros, smiling down upon us as though he's in heaven right now because Tony Pollard has been drafted here on Splash Play. And Tony Pollard, stinky boy. All right. And our last pick is going to be Jared Goff, so nothing too exciting coming up here. Any of these teams really jumping out? The other guys drafted. We got Kupp, Allen. Solid team. No unifying theme there. I got TTP, Brandon in the chat. Going with the Fields Moore combo. I do like that one. Contrarian Diggs. Interesting team by him. Like that team. All right, my final pick here, Jared Goff. Ceremonial Jared Goff selection. Final team for me going to be Jared Goff, Devon Achane, Tony Pollard, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Devontae Adams, Sam Laporta. That is going to be it in this build. Of course, Houston, Arizona, the one part that's not in this build that I certainly think you should have some exposure to. But we got Amon-Ra at 5, and I do like Amon-Ra enough to go there. All right, pick 'em time. And let's try to correlate this one. And I think because of that, I think we're going to right away go towards Houston, the spot. 267.5 is the passing yardage line. And I'm actually going to show you guys probably after we finish this here. But let me see if I could pull this up in parallel to see what the market line is for Stroud, because I do like to compare underdog lines to market lines, even though you could just play the game script straight away, or game script rather, straight away. Houston. Oh, I got to filter the NFL. One sec. Could have done this in advance, but we didn't. All right. Stroud. Market line 266.5. Might have moved a point since our most recent update. I can't go lower on Stroud. I'm going higher. I'm also going to go higher on, do we go higher on Tank or Nico? That's odd. You never see this. 56.5 receiving and 56.5 rushing plus receiving. Obviously, you should just take rushing plus receiving. I guess you run the risk that you get a -1, rushing yard kind of play. But I would still take that. I think that's all right. We're going to select multiple teams. Calm down, Underdog. Jesus. Cut us some slack, Underdog. Kyler Murray. What's the rushing matchup versus Houston? Let's look at that. Houston giving up 0.13 EPA per QB rush, which is actually towards the lower half of the league. Still positive, but not a great rushing matchup. Passing, probably a little more fruitful for Kyler. Kyler's market line, passing yardage, 239.5, 237.5. All right. We'll take a higher on this one. Don't love it necessarily. I'm trying to correlate more so. Again, I would read the P.O. Box email from Pete today for why. But basically, if you're correlating more in your pick'ems, you're allowing yourself to get a little more of a tournament kind of play for DFS, which, basically you're pairing these guys up and saying the game environment works. So, I think for underdog, honestly, the best way to win an underdog pick'em is just to have bets that have a market probability. As I've mentioned, you can use Probably's data at probably.com, 55% or more for each leg. That's going to give you the best shot to win pick'ems over time. But if you're building by hand and you're not looking at that stuff as diligently, I would say just trying to get, so it's like a correlation based upon a game that's going to help you get there. All right. Kyler Murray, we've covered that. Singletary, do we want to put a Singletary one in here too? How's Houston against the run? Negative .08 EPA per rush. They do miss a lot of tackles, 19% missed tackle rate, but they tackle for a loss 17% of the time. So they should be in the backfield about a fifth of the time, which is pretty tough. I don't like to target teams that tackle for loss a lot because it does kind of combine together in a way that's usually not great for the running back. But Singletary, 1 touchdown. It's the only prop here. We don't get any yardage for Singletary. Does he get a touchdown here? Fuck it. Higher on Singletary. And then, of course, this is not going to correlate with the game environment, but we don't care. Christian Watson, higher would be it. Of course, I can't play parlays in Pennsylvania because Pennsylvania is fucking stupid. But we'll try to submit it anyway. There we go. Don't offer pick 'em, but my final pick 'em. CJ Stroud, higher, 267.5 passing yards. Nico Collins, higher, 56.5 rushing and receiving. Kyler Murray, higher, 238.5 passing yards. Devin Singletary, higher, 0.5 rushing and receiving. And then Christian Watson, higher on 36.5 receiving yards. There you go. And now for my last trick, let me show you guys the Probably app real fast. And actually, let's see what we have going. Let me make sure that we actually have some profitable bets to look at because sometimes in NFL, it just might not be a lot to go to because NFL, of course, the most efficient market around. Fuck it. I'm not going to show you guys football because football doesn't look like we actually have any bets to note. But let me go over to the Probably tab real fast. Of course, this is my startup, Probly. If you can find it for yourself at probly.com. And oh God, I got to change so many things. Here am I moving over here. We got to go to change the screens. Share screen. This bad boy. Oh, no, wait. I did the wrong thing. Hold on. I'm not ready for this. By the way, I am going to launch the Probably content stream coming next week. So keep that in mind. If you are somebody that wants to get more content from me, it's going to be pre-recorded videos as opposed to live, but we'll be putting out best bet videos coming up starting next week. Let's see if we can shrink this a little bit more. There we go. All right, so it's probably what you're doing. And again, we do have these discounts for you guys. You can see this is a general one. If you use promo code SPLASH, you're getting 50% off at probably.com/subscribe. What we try to do with Probably, though, is make it incredibly easy to get in profitable bets. What we do is we track the top probabilities or the top sportsbooks around the world to find a true probability for every event and grade it out against legal sportsbook opportunities from our data partner at OddsJam. And if you've heard of OddsJam, what they do is very similar to us. Obviously, Stochastic, what they do is OddsShopper based on fantasy projections. What OddsJam does and what we do is based off market data, where we're looking at the top performing markets and trying to find opportunities based off of that. So you see you're going to see, like if you go through as an unpaid customer, a lot of negative Probably scores here. You click on this, it tells you what the odds are, when is most recently updated and all of that. But if you're a paying customer, what you can get is you could sort by most profitable. So it's a pretty powerful tool that allow you to get profitable bets in right away. So this one only has a 6% chance to hit. So this is a long shot bet. But if it does hit with Mauritius against Cameroon, it's going to pay off meaningfully. And this is the thing too, where like being a profitable bettor, it's about just taking an advantageous positions time over time. It's not about actually giving yourself, these really big upside plays that you think are really strong plays. Like obviously that is a style of betting, but that's how you lose money over the course of time. Even if you're not actually betting these most profitable bets like that Duke one, this one, I don't even know what fucking sport it is. But we got this going. Point being is like you could just go through and you could filter by sport as well. If you want to go to MMA, you can see the most profitable bets here. I guess it was an MMA bet. And we have it for every sport. So it's a really great tool that I spent a lot of my life and a lot of my money building. So it'd be great if you guys check it out. And again, you could use the promo code SPLASH at probably.com/subscribe and pay 50% on any package. So we have $20 a month packages, $40 a month packages. We have all of them on there where you'll be saving half of that right away. And we also have the yearly ones as well, where it's $500 for a full year of data. You're going to get that for $250 right now. So it obviously would help me out a lot if you go check it out, but it really built the tool to be simple, to allow you to get in good bets. And we have also done some back testing this week. Our R squared is around 60% in terms of the win rate. So we feel really good about the data, but it's hard to promote because frankly, like I'm not a screenshot guy. I'm not the one. I paid for my best ball winnings, or my best ball rather, outlay on DraftKings entirely with Probably bets. And now we've made the formula a lot better. So I would recommend it for you guys. And I really wouldn't recommend something I think sucks, but this is a really good tool. And I'm having a hard time promoting it so far until we really start the content funnel. So check it out at Probly. Again, basketball. You can see everything. Again, college basketball, we saw some of these bets before. You could filter by leagues and get even more of them, where we have NBA. Obviously, there's a little bit of a load here because we're pulling up every league at once. The NBA, Celtics spread. Again, there's just so many good bets you could be taking. Anything above 2, feel really confident about, but anything above a 1 or a 1.5, like you're perfectly good to take. There's just so many plus EV bets across every sport that you're missing over the course of time. And you can find the same odds at most sports books. Like BetMGM's got this plus 125, but I'll bet you DraftKings is not that far off either. That's how the process goes. So check it out at probably.com. That is my baby. And for you guys who are Splash Play viewers, use the promo code SPLASH to save 50% on it. But it's a tool that I really spend a lot of my life trying to build because I wanted to build something that helps people just get in good bets from a toilet. Like Underdog allows you to get in good drafts. And you can sort by event here as well. If you want to just play basketball, you can go through and find all the bets in this part. Really made it as simple as possible to get stuff in and make good bets for yourself. So check it out at probably.com. Same thing here. Click the modal. Boom, boom, boom. That's how it works. So please, for the love of God, somebody sign up at probably.com/subscribe. But there we go, guys. That's going to be it for me today here on Splash Play. Back to this one. So please, again, guys, do subscribe down below. Please hit the like button. Please leave a comment. Shouts to the Squirt Squad as well. This is Friday, so I have to read all the names. Thank you, Squirt Squad. Matthew Emerson, Tyler, CLN, Mythology, Rupesh, Robert Griffin the Turd, a.k.a. Ross, Historical Anomalies, Willis, Nick Hedgeland, Ivan Black, Rod B. Throbbin, It's Just Port, our pal Mark, Rob Van Natten, Brandon Wagner, Siglieri, Bolick, who was in the chat today. What a treat. Aaron D, Rabbit Shih Tzu, Nez from the Badge Bros, Jake Twitchell, fucking Alpha, Sammy Telesco, I Am the KY, Go Birds, Kevin Castro, Eric Jones, Colin Mann, Matt Schwab, and Gamblestein. All of you guys are helping us put the show on here on Splash Play. For the love of God, I do appreciate that here. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play Pod. Even if you're not martingaling your own plays this week, I really do hope you guys have a great one. I wish you the best of luck. If I don't take things down, which if I don't take things down, I hope you do. But I appreciate all of you for being here. And again, use that promo code SPLASH at probably.com/subscribe. And I will see you guys again soon. Enjoy your days. Good luck. Love you. Bye.